Welcome everyone to the Monday edition of Fair Territory. I'm Ken Rosenthal here with you for the next, I don't know, 25 minutes or so. We do have some stuff to talk about today. Some more stuff than usual actually at this time of year because we have a major free agent signing. Last night, news coming out, Josh Naylor, 5 years with the Seattle Mariners, and you might say 5 years. Well, Josh Naylor is not even 29 yet. Doesn't turn 29 until June. We do not have the money yet. The expectation is that it will be somewhere in the $90 million to $100 million range. I would not be surprised if it was 100, but again, we don't know the exact figures yet. And for the Mariners, this is a guy that they targeted, that they wanted to have, that they traded for in July and decided, you know what, this guy is really important to us, and he is. You saw what he did for the Mariners toward the end of the regular season, and of course, you saw what he did in the postseason, batting .340 with a .966 OPS in October in 51 plate appearances. Beyond all that, Josh Naylor is a guy who has a lot of savvy for the game. We saw that in the way he stole bases this season. And he also brings a certain edge, an edge that you don't see in a lot of players today. And it's not that guys don't want to succeed, but he has a fire about him and a way about him. Teammates love him, and he just seems to elevate the teams that he is on. He's a guy who is just a really good player and worthy of the 5-year deal considering his age. That's the key thing here. Now, obviously, the Mets are waiting to sign or trying to sign Pete Alonso, and 5 years is going to be the minimum for him, I would expect. This kind of sets the bar, at least in the term. I don't know that the money will be anywhere the same because Alonso is the more accomplished player. But the Mets people or Mets writers noted last night that this takes an option off the board if the Mets do not re-sign Alonso. We'll see about all that. We'll see how that all plays out. Also, with regard to the Mariners, this is only step one. They still have a need either for a second baseman or a third baseman, and the likely next target is Jorge Polanco. This is a guy who, of course, like Naylor, was extremely valuable for them, especially in the postseason. A guy who was coming off knee surgery at this time last year, but got healthier as the year went on, and he is someone that they will probably re-sign, if they do, to play second base, but also to DH. They want to keep him healthy. That would be the key with Jorge Polanco. They have Cole Young at second base as well. Didn't really hit much in his debut, but he is a guy they are extremely high on. He was their number one prospect just a year ago. And their infield is interesting also for another reason. Their top prospect now, Colt Emerson, is coming. He is widely seen as a shortstop, but can also play third base. I don't know that he'll be ready for opening day. The Mariners don't know that. But at third base last year, they played Ben Williamson a lot. Great defender, didn't hit, traded for Eugenio Suarez. So if they get Polanco or even sign a third baseman, whether it's Suarez or Murakama, they can do some things then and wait for Emerson, fill him in. J.P. Crawford, a free agent after this season. So maybe that ultimately will be Emerson's spot. The Mariners are not only a team that was quite accomplished at the major league level this year, but also a team with one of the best farm systems in the game. So Naylor for 5 years, the first signing, the first big signing of the offseason. You see right there, Aaron Gleeman of The Athletic, they ranked Josh Naylor number 14 of all the free agents on The Athletic's big board. And Aaron said, I just had a very hard time seeing him anywhere but re-signed with the Mariners. Most everyone agreed with that. This was hardly a surprise last night. Maybe the timing was. It was pretty early for free agency. It's only November 16th last night, November 17th today. So good for the Mariners getting this done. Step one for them in this free agency. Also, something to look at here, a team that we've talked about a little bit as a team that's going to be quite interesting this offseason. And Matt Gelb of The Athletic wrote a fascinating notes column on this team just yesterday, and that team is the Philadelphia Phillies. Why are they so interesting? A couple of reasons. One, they want to re-sign their free agents, Kyle Schwarber and JT Realmuto, and yet they can't do it right away. Both these players are testing the market. Schwarber is a guy who is coming off a monster season, is in some demand. Now, you might say, well, who is going to sign him besides the Phillies? I'm not sure exactly which team might be interested. You can look at the Mets if they lose Alonso, the Red Sox perhaps, although they're left-handed. The Cubs, the Rangers, the Reds, all of these teams would seemingly have an interest, but my goodness, 56 home runs last year, 132 RBIs, 928 OPS, second in the NL MVP. I trust that there are teams besides the Philadelphia Phillies that want to sign Kyle Schwarber, and that is a reason why the Phillies can't get this done necessarily right away. He's going to want to see what's out there. So it's holding up the Phillies right now, and that's just the way it's going to have to be. At some point, I guess, there is a point where they'll need an answer, but we're not nearly there yet. Also with the Phillies, they are looking to trade a left-handed reliever, perhaps, maybe Matt Strahm. And one other interesting thing in Matt's notes column, they're talking about trading off the Major League roster. Now, Dave Dombrowski, as president of baseball operations, not known for trading anything but prospects and has always been willing to trade prospects. But they're at a point now where they've got some, I wouldn't call it duplication at the Major League level, but some players that they can move. And this way, by trading off the Major League roster, they can keep some of their better prospects. They're a little thin right now, and they know that after the deadline, they made some big moves. So that is something to watch with the Phillies as well. Strahm, Castellanos' future is in big trouble there. They could trade Bohm. They could trade someone else. They're going to be an interesting team. And finally, before we sign off on this first segment, I want to talk about Jose Ramírez. Here is a guy that we often refer to, myself included, as underrated. I don't know that underrated is the right way to look at Jose Ramírez anymore. He's not underrated, but is he underappreciated? I would suggest that he definitely is underappreciated. Here's a guy who finished third in the MVP voting. That was his sixth top five finish in his career. You see the little X post from the Guardians right there. 30 homers, 34 doubles, 44 steals, 863 OPS. This is just a really good player. And some people have said, well, is he a Hall of Famer? And the Guardians refer to him as Cooperstown bound. And I would suggest yes, that he is definitely on a Hall of Fame track. Jason Stark of The Athletic, who covers the Hall of Fame better than anyone outside of maybe Jay Jaffe or Fangraphs. They're different, but they both cover the Hall of Fame exhaustively. Jason had him across the 50-yard line in his July analysis of Hall of Fame candidates. Across the 50-yard line is, of course, heading toward the end zone. And he is not yet at 300 homers and 300 steals, though he should get there this next season. And keep this in mind, no third baseman has ever reached both those totals, 300 home runs and 300 steals for his career. That way, if he gets there, and he should, obviously, he's in the 280s with both, that would make him a unique candidate. Also, staying with his team the entire career, all of these things kind of recommend Jose Ramírez as a Hall of Fame player. So, underrated? No, you can't call him underrated when he keeps finishing in the top five for MVP, but underappreciated, certainly. And if he wasn't in the same league as, I don't know, Aaron Judge and Cal Raleigh, then maybe at some point Jose Ramírez would be a stronger candidate for MVP. But this guy almost single-handedly, offensively, lifted the Guardians to their shocking AL Central title, 19-4 down the stretch. He is a really special player, and he was acknowledged yet again in the MVP vote. All right, a lot more to come. We're going to talk about the qualifying offer. The deadline is tomorrow, and it's something that is quite interesting this season in particular. Stay with us. Inside Dish coming up next.
Hey, Jay, we're going to do things a little bit differently here. I am wearing the Perfect Jean, and I remember seeing ads for the Perfect Jean, like most comfortable fit ever, perfect fit on your body. And I was like, I'm not buying it. Now, I'm buying it. And we're showing it off on FT.
Please get off my desk, first of all, Scott. Second of all, I was with you. I was skeptical about Perfect Jean, and then I got a pair, and the fitting was perfect. And my body's not hard to fit because I got a big old rear and big old legs from years of squatting, and they fit perfectly. They're stretchy. They're comfortable. They're fashionable. They're everything I look for in a jean, and now I have an extra pair, and I'm going to wear them all the time.
FOUL15 is the code at theperfectgene.nyc. FT listeners get 15% off your first order, plus free shipping, free returns, and free exchanges when you use code FOUL15 at checkout. That's 15% off for new customers at theperfectgene.nyc with promo code FOUL15. After your purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support the show and tell them Foul Territory sent you.
All right, time now for the inside dish. Now that we've seen our two Blue Jeans models, AJ Brzezinski and Scott Braun, the inside dish is something where we talk about maybe a story I've written, maybe a trend in the game, maybe something else going on in the game. This week, kind of a combination of all three. We've got the qualifying offer deadline tomorrow. The qualifying offer this year worth $22.025 million, almost over, I should say, over $22 million for 1 year. 13 players received it, and when I talked with an executive last week at the GM meetings, he said every one of them is going to reject it. No one wants to be a free agent with the lockout potentially looming next offseason. And I thought about that, and I asked some other people about that, and even with the lockout looming, and I understand what the GM was saying. He's saying, hey, no one wants a 1-year deal then to become a free agent again with a lockout scenario. But if you go back to 2021, when the lockout took effect on December 1st. What happened right before that? Do you guys remember? I remember. It was a free agent flurry. Semien and Seager, Corey Seager and Marcus Semien signed huge deals with the Rangers. Max Scherzer signed his big deal with the Mets. You also saw, obviously, El Garcia sign. You saw Eduardo Rodriguez sign. There was a flurry right before December 1st hit. And it wasn't as if teams shunned free agents. So I don't expect teams to shun free agents either this offseason or next offseason, because even if we lose time in 2027, and I don't know that I expect that to happen necessarily, even if we do, even if we miss games, eventually the sport's going to return. Teams are going to need players, and players are going to need jobs. So with that, there are a few players who were offered qualifying offers who might indeed consider taking them. And I wrote about this last week with Will Salmon and Katie Wu, and we focused on 4 players: Gleyber Torres, Trent Grisham, Brandon Woodruff, and Shota Imanaga. And I'll go through them one by one because they're all interesting in their own ways. Now, Torres is a guy, if you remember last year, monster first half, 812 OPS before the All-Star game, named to the All-Star team, one of a number of Tigers who made the All-Star team. And then he fell off in the second half. He struggled. He had a 659 OPS after the All-Star game, and we learned later that he was dealing with a sports hernia, had sports hernia surgery after the season. So teams might be a little bit wary because of that, but he's expected to be ready by spring training. So he's a guy who signed a 1-year, $15 million deal with the Tigers last offseason. This offseason, well, he is coming off a better year. He turns 29 next month. This is the same age that Josh Naylor will be next season, and he just got a 5-year deal. And that's a relatively young free agent, as we know. So will Gleyber Torres take this deal? Well, he was happy in Detroit, comfortable there. And $22 million is a big number. In a multi-year deal, he is unlikely to get $22 million. So maybe he takes 1 year and says, you know what, I'll do this again, go out next offseason, without a qualifying offer saddling me, without the potential for a team to lose draft picks by signing me, and maybe be that much more attractive. It's an interesting choice. He'd still be relatively young going into next offseason, turning 30 in 2027. So I'll be interested to see what he does. My guess is he rejects, but I would not be surprised to see him take it either. Now, Trent Grisham is another interesting case, maybe even more interesting than Torres. Here's a guy that a year ago, the Yankees weren't even certain they were going to tender him, offer him a contract. Ends up taking a pay cut from $5.5 million to $5 million. And then what happened? We all saw it. 34 homers, career high, and a career high 811 OPS. That 34 home run total was double his previous career high. So he too is a younger free agent, plays next season at 29. The question with him is he a center fielder? his defensive metrics went down last year significantly. He wasn't the center fielder he was earlier in his career, but a number of his offensive metrics were really intriguing. Chase rate, fourth lowest in the majors, behind only Soto, Gleyber Torres, and Kyle Tucker. Walk rate was the ninth highest. He did a lot of good things at the plate. He's kind of remade himself, changed his mental approach, changed things in the box. He's done a lot of good things offensively. So, in a market short on center fielders, he really is number 3 behind Tucker and Cody Bellinger. Will he reject? I kind of think he's going to reject the offer. And if he does, then the Yankees have some more interesting choices in the outfield. They have said they would be comfortable with both Grisham and Bellinger if they could re-sign Bellinger. And if that happens, they've got some interesting choices with Spencer Jones, whether to trade him or not. But we'll see what Trent Grisham decides. He is going to be an interesting guy tomorrow to watch. Finally, 2 starting pitchers, Brandon Woodruff and Shota Imanaga. Now, they are much different as far as their circumstances, but they're both starters, and starting pitchers generally in free agency generate the most fervent markets, the most interest, because of course they are in such short supply. Quality starting pitchers, that is. Now, Brandon Woodruff is a really interesting case. You would think this guy's definitely going to take it. He turns 33 in February, missed all of 24 coming off shoulder surgery, made only 12 starts for Milwaukee last season, and then was shut down in September with a separate issue. So here's a guy, 12 starts in 2 years, and he's getting offered $22 million. Might want to take it. But I don't know that that's the case. He had a great performance in those 12 starts. He had a 3.20 ERA, strikeout walk rate that was the best of his career, albeit in a limited sample. So Matt Boyd, if you remember last year, the same number of starts as Brandon Woodruff, including postseason, got $29 million for 2 years from the Chicago Cubs. Brandon Woodruff might be able to do the same kind of thing. And then there's Shota Imanaga, 32 years old. The Cubs turned down his 3-year option. He turned down a player option in return, and he goes out in the open market after getting the qualifying offer from the Cubs. So what will he do? He's an interesting guy because he wasn't as good in his second year as he was in his first, but I would still expect him to get a multi-year. So with Woodruff and Imanaga, because they are starting pitchers, because the demand for starting pitchers is so intense, I would expect that they're going to get significant multi-year interest. They are among the better free agents out there beyond the top tier, which is Framber Valdez, Dylan Cease, Tatsuya Imai, and Ranger Suarez. Those are the top 4. So we'll see how this goes. We'll see if anyone takes the qualifying offer tomorrow, or we'll see if that head of baseball operations who told me no one's taking it, no one wants to be a free agent next offseason, we'll see if he's proven correct. Could possibly be correct, but I do expect maybe 1 or 2 of these players to accept the qualifying offer. Again, we will see. All right, that is it for the Inside Dish. Grillin Ken, we're not going to grill 10. Grillin Ken is next. Stay with us. Your questions coming up.
BetMGM account holders, today, how about an any sport parlay boost token? You can score a bigger payout if your wager with that token hits. Tokens can be used on parlays and on same-game parlays. Gambling problem or concern? There's help. Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Hey, an easy way to support the show and wear super comfy clothing is by heading to foulterritoryshop.com. Yes, foulterritoryshop.com is loaded with Foul Territory gear and lots of Fair Territory gear. If you want to give some love to Ken and Alana, go check out a hat, a t-shirt, and a lot more. Coffee mug in the morning? foulterritoryshop.com is the spot.
Time now for Grillin Ken, the part of the show where I answer your questions. Let's get right to them and get to as many as we can. First question comes from Tyler Mack Smith, who asks, if the Braves fail to sign Ha-Seong Kim, what are some other options at shortstop? Good question, Tyler. And the answer is there aren't many, and they might have to be creative and make a trade because free agent-wise, there really aren't any shortstops out there. Bo Bichette, yes, but teams, for the most part, do not consider him a shortstop, and I don't believe that the Atlanta Braves are going to pay Bo Bichette what he is going to command in the open market. So They could do a couple of things. They could bring back Nick Allen. They could maybe make a trade, figure out something else. But I don't necessarily see a great alternative besides Kim, which of course puts Kim in a great position with the Atlanta Braves and in general in the open market because the supply of shortstops is so short. All right, next question. This one comes from Dr. Futu, who says, what are the chances Marte gets traded? I assume he's talking about Ketel Marte and not Starling Marte, because Ketel Marte is a name that is out there. And you might say, whoa, why would the Diamondbacks want to trade Ketel Marte? He's one of the best second basemen in the game, if not the best. He is under a contract that extends for a while, but pays him at a relatively reasonable rate. What are they thinking? What they're thinking is that they have a lot of holes. If you recall, Corbin Burns underwent Tommy John surgery last year. So did A.J. Puck in relief. So did Justin Martinez. I almost said Nick Martinez. So that's three important pitchers that they're down just by injury alone. And of course, Merrill Kelly and Zach Gallen, two of their starters, are also in free agency and not expected to re-sign with Arizona. So in that case, they have a lot of needs. They also have some needs in the outfield. And that is why they see Marte potentially, if they get the right offer, filling some of those needs and allowing them to do some other things. So what are the chances he gets traded? My guess would be 50-50. I'm sure the Diamondbacks would want a lot for Ketel Marte, and it will be interesting to see whether some team is willing to meet their demands for him or their desires. I don't want to say demands because teams hate that word. Their desires for Ketel Marte. So we'll see how that goes, but I would not be surprised to see him moved one bit. Next question. This one comes from Video Game Nation 26. That could be any child in America. Ken, who do you think is a better option for the Red Sox for a number 2? Starter Joe Ryan or signing someone like Framber Valdez? First off, we're not even sure Joe Ryan is going to be traded. And it just seems to me, after making the Crochet deal last year and trading 4 good prospects, really good prospects, some of whom have already surfaced in the majors, that the Red Sox preference would be to sign a free agent, whether it's Valdez, whether it's Cease, whether it's Imai, Ranger Suarez, whoever that might be. It just would seem that that would be the way to go. Now, if you can make a deal that you like for Joe Ryan for 2 years, you do have a strong farm system or some other starter in that category. Sure, maybe that's the better alternative if the prices for the starters get, I don't know, into a level where the Red Sox are not comfortable. But my goodness, after trading Rafael Devers and purging the $330 million remaining on his deal, the Red Sox should be comfortable signing a big free agent. All right, next question. Let's see what this one brings us. From Jim Huerta, who's a relief pitcher that the Dodgers can be eyeing on the trade market from what you hear? Ooh, the trade market. I've been focusing mostly on free agents with regard to trades in relief pitching. You know what, Jim? I'm not going to answer that because I'm not sure of the answer. And I hate to answer questions when I don't know. Sometimes it's better just to say, I don't know. We do know that they've been linked to some free agents, Devin Williams being one. I would think they're an outside contender for Edwin Diaz, but really only if his market falls apart. And maybe some of these other relievers who are out there as well. Ryan Helsley would be another possibility. So I see them being more active in free agency, but there is a possibility of a trade too. We mentioned earlier in the show, Matt Strahm, a guy that the Phillies are at least listening on. That would be one possibility, and I'm sure there are others. Relievers come and go, and there are also quite a few others who will be coming onto the free agent market this week when the non-tender deadline hits. That's Thursday. So the Dodgers will play all their options out and just see what it brings them. All right, let's see what we have. Banana the Bad Guy Williams, 4860. I love these names. Who is the surprise team that you see for Kyle Tucker? Great question. And I'll give you one, and it came up. Will Salmon of The Athletic wrote about it, as did Patrick Mooney. They wrote a combined story about Kyle Tucker, and they listed this surprise team, the Baltimore Orioles. Now, I do not expect the Orioles to sign Kyle Tucker. Let me say that right off the top. But while their bigger needs are starting pitching, top of the rotation starter, number 3 at least, and a bullpen that they need to address and have started to address with the signing of Andrew Kittredge, Tucker would fit as he would fit for any team. And not only that, Mike Elias, when he was with the Houston Astros, and of course he's now the president of baseball operations with the Orioles, Mike Elias drafted Kyle Tucker. And people in baseball are often attached to people that they draft. They kind of never lose that affection and feel for them. And for that reason, I can at least see their interest. I can also see them spending more money than they did even last offseason. So I'm not saying the Orioles are going to be in there deep for Kyle Tucker. I don't know that they will. They have these other priorities. But could they be a team that surfaces? Yeah. Remember, last offseason, they offered Corbin Burns $180 million for 4 years. That was a serious offer. Now Kyle Tucker is going to be twice that, most likely. I don't know if they want to go there, but it's something that I think we will see them linked to in the coming weeks. All right, I want to thank everyone for watching, for listening. Foul Territory is coming up. Jim Bowden, Lance Lynn, and Marcus Thames join Alana, AJ, and Kratz. That's Alana Rizzo, AJ Przinsky, and Eric Kratz. Fair Territory returns Thursday, our usual 12:30 Eastern time slot. Alana Rizzo is back with us. We'll talk to you then. Have a great week, everyone.